What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. The Wizards are the same old Wizards. Nothing really has changed from 2024 into 2025, but we're back here for a new year and, kind of try to just update you on what we've seen on the court. It's been a couple weeks since we got together here. I don't know if you're still watching this team. You kind of know what's been going on, but we're going to break it all down. Jahadi, just first and foremost, man, Happy New Year. How are you?
Oh, man, life's good. Life's good. No complaints my way. Just enjoying NBA season, less sports on Sports Center and, high school basketball.
Cool. How are the boys doing?
They're doing good. They're getting a lot of experience because, it's a national schedule this year. Mm-hmm. So we're playing all over. We just got back from Phoenix. We were in D.C. As you know, I saw you there. So, I think it's a great exposure, great experience because now you're playing against some of the other best players in the country. Now this is it. You've seen it all. Now you figured out where to adjust. You figure out where to what to figure out, what solutions, what to tweak.
They look good to me when I saw them. So any college coaches listening to this, get in early here on the recruitment here. I think that's a buy early kind of stock. That would be my suggestion.
Hey, I agree with you,
Who has not looked quite as impressive are our Washington Wizards since we last recorded. They had a little hot streak there. Fans were wondering if they were magically too good. We quickly dispelled any notions of that. Before we get too far into it, we're brought to you by betonline.ag. As always here, but if you want to bet on the Wizards, you could do that. I would always strongly encourage you to take the over on the point spread. That seems to hit most of the time. But BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds from everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, BetOnline is your number one sports betting source this year. From touchdowns to three-pointers to hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, so the Wizards are 6-32. They have 7 straight losses. And 2 of the last 3 games, I would say you could pretty effectively call blowouts. So let's just circle back to the Thunder one. That was, look, Johnny, we talked about it. I don't expect much from this team. Like, I don't even care if they win games. I just want to see the young guys grow and develop over the course of the season. But that was as bad a game as I've seen in a really long time. It was their worst loss of the year. They lost by 41. They shot 34% from the field and 20% from 3. SGA didn't even really play that well, and he still had 27 points. Like, he didn't shoot particularly well. From Chase Hughes, I think I got this stat. It's the 17th time that Oklahoma City has held an opponent under 100 points this year, which is crazy in today's NBA. They were literally chanting MVP for SGA at home. That just seemed like rock bottom from the rebuild here. I saw a couple different fans tweet that exact same phrase. That's how I felt watching. I left it on the entire time because I'm a sicko, but I just wanted to see if they would show any spark. And they waited until the final 5 minutes of that game to play Butler and Champagnie, the 2 guys who have probably played the hardest for you, outside of the rookies. So I don't know. I couldn't figure out what was going on there. What did you think of that game in particular and the decision not to play those guys until the last couple minutes?
Well, understanding OKC, they're one of the top 5 defensive teams in the NBA, right? So they play passing lanes. They really play well on defense. And then with us, like, as far as turnovers have gone, I think we have committed 68 turnovers, and teams have scored 102 points off these turnovers in the last week.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
So that right there kind of is a battle that's a clash already. So one of the best defensive teams in the NBA and one of the top turnover teams in the NBA. So I kind of understood that game would be tough for us as far as in that situation. And I think that's what happened. It just constant turnovers. I mean, we're really struggling in the turnover avenue. I think that one of the best guys out there that's not really turning the ball over is Bub. But outside of that, it's turnover after turnover after turnover. So that's really hurting us a lot. We just that alone is reasons why we're not in the game. if we kind of fix that and repress that some,
Mm-hmm.
we will be in most of these games. Win
Yeah,
or loss, we'll be right there. I mean, just the carelessness of the ball is really bad for us right now. But I'm surprised that Champagnie and Butler hasn't really been playing after when they did play, when they finally showed them,
they're
they
so
said they
good.
had
Yeah.
great showings.
Yep.
They had amazing showings. So now, as a fan, you're saying, okay, not only we have not a young team with good starting five, or a young four, where you have Coulibaly, you have Bub, you have you have a Poole, and you have Sarr, along with Kuzma, but those four are very young. Now now just to know that we have Champagnie and we have Butler, and
Nice.
when they have been getting into the game, they've really been like progressing on the offensive end of things. Sometimes the defensive, but definitely offensively. To now, all of a sudden, they went away. They went away. They haven't really been getting much playing time. And then when they show back up, they not only do well, they show back up as the same efficient guys that they left, that they were just kind of buried for a little while.
I would think they're like two of the greatest success stories of the season. Like Sarr's picked it up. I don't think we've seen as consistent a jump from Coulibaly as we like. Bub's been fine. Kyshawn really can't make a shot, but has been okay other than that. But like you can point to Butler and Champagnie and say, hey, we actually do have an eye for talent. It's not just the draft. Look at these guys we found on two-way contracts that were kind of written off by the rest of the league. They look like very clear NBA contributors. And so to just yo-yo their minutes, like these guys are on two-way contracts. Like they're going to have their pick of where they want to go next year. And they've shown enough, I think, for another NBA team to say, oh, that's, if I'm a championship guy, if I can fill my end of my bench with Justin Champagnie next year, like I'm going to consider it. And the Wizards aren't going to be in a position to outbid for, these kind of guys just because they're not in that place to like get into like an arms race, for role players when they're also going to have a couple draft picks coming in. So I would like try to treat them as well as I can and convince them that, hey, come here and play another full year, get your minutes up even more. And like, that's the sales pitch, but just sort of like, I don't know, like, again, yo-yoing is kind of what I keep going back to. Like for Butler, he basically didn't play, for like the second half of December. Like he had 4 DNPs and one game where he played 8 minutes in garbage time, essentially. And then the next couple games, he's playing 1 minute, 4 minutes, 1 minute. And then all of a sudden you get to the first kind of big game he played, the second game against New Orleans. He played 20 minutes and had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 turnovers. Like that's awesome. The next game against Houston, he has 14 points and 5 assists in 21 minutes. In 20 minutes against Philly, is 26 points and 7 rebounds and 7 assists and 4 rebounds. Then against Chicago, 18 points again, like 6 rebounds, 4 assists. And now you get to OKC in a game they lose by 41. He plays 8 minutes at the end when the game was like well out of reach, although it was kind of out of reach in the first quarter. And then again here in the other night against Minnesota, he plays 6 minutes. By the way, he scored 7 points in 6 minutes. Like he's still like his per minutes are probably the best. Per minute averages are probably the best on the team. But like if you're Jared Butler right now, Jahadi, and this happens to you, like, what are you thinking? Like that would like, I would be kind of pissed if I were him.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. What are you left to think other than, right, man, I can play. I know I can play. I've proven. I just showed them I could.
Yep.
So what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to my agent every day saying, look, they gave me 20 minutes. 2 games back to back, I killed. Yep. Why? I already proved myself. They know what I can do. I know that they know what I can do. What's going on here, right? Because in the end of the day, just as well as you know and I know, this has to be calculated.
Yeah, there's got to be some reason.
Otherwise, you'll put him on the floor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you put him on the floor. You know, you put Champagnie on the floor more. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the strategy here.
Right.
Because they're too useful. Now, are they not trying to raise their value too high?
Could be.
So they can turn around and offer them a better contract for
Lock
next
them
year.
into a cheap deal.
Lock
for
them
a
in,
couple
which
years.
possibly is the case.
Sure.
But do you risk, you know, hurting the players' trust in the team that way?
Yeah.
But I mean, has happened a lot, which is fine. You know, as long as you understand, okay, this is what's going on, which means, well, at least they're trying to.
They talk to you about it, right? And like
talk to me about it, but also set something up for me to still be here for the long haul for 2 or 3 more years down the road. Yeah. So I take that, right?
Yeah.
And then the opposite of that is, let me display what I can do, raise my value, and then go somewhere else, which most teams like, okay, well, we don't want to do that because we might lose them.
Yep. And we look bad.
Right now we have 2 good players that we're really trying to hide. That's the only thing I can come up with. Right? We figured out they can play. Let's hide them, right? And we can now compete against any team with them because then we don't want to raise their value too high. So now, okay, we can pay whatever it is for them, or we have first writer's refusal, or whatever the case may be in the contracts. So I think that's the only way. And then look, we're not trying to win too many games. We want to get a great, first round pick next year too. So I just think it's part of a strategy and it's calculating the game plan. But as a player and as a fan watching it, you like, okay, we have some guys who can help.
I think your explanation is the one that makes the most sense. I was thinking of 2 things. Like, because they're on a 2-way contract, they can only participate in 50 NBA games this season. So Champagnie's at 21 right now, and Butler's at 29. So, like, maybe they're just trying to pick stretches where, hey, everybody else is healthy. Let's save them for later. I hope it's what you said, where their goal is to trade some of these veterans at the trade deadline. And if there are roster spots that are opened up, now maybe you can convert these guys to standard NBA contracts and lock them in for, 2-3 year deal, whatever the case may be. But you want to get a team friendly deal of like, well, you may not play everywhere else in the league. So, we'll get you on a team friendly deal and we'll give you a 3-year non-guaranteed or whatever. Right. They did something kind of similar with Jordan Goodwin, where they got him on a team friendly deal. And I think the 3rd year was like non-guaranteed or something like that. So maybe that's what they're trying to do, but I still don't like it. I think the message you should be sending to your team, if you're doing a real culture rebuild, which is what they talk about, is if you play hard and you play well, you will be rewarded. Like, we will acknowledge that, and you will earn your minutes. But then you come in, and no matter how much money he makes, you see Kuzma like loafing his way up and down the court in that OKC game. If I'm Champagnie, I'm sitting there, I'm pissed. It's like, dude, I just dropped 30 points on the Knicks, and they couldn't do anything with me. And now I'm getting 4 minutes in a blowout game. Like, I don't know. You can't do that for too long. It sends the wrong message. For a couple games, you can tell a guy, like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is the plan, and they'll buy it. But you can't do that for the next month or whatever.
True. And you're absolutely right. But this is a business, first of all. It's the business of basketball. Secondly, you got to understand who you are, not how great you are, or how great your potential is.
Your place in the league. Yeah.
Your place in the league.
Yeah.
You can only be so pissed.
Right, when you're the 2-way guy.
If you're a 2-way guy.
Sure.
Or now, with a 2-way guy, you're just chasing opportunity. You're chasing minutes. You're trying to make 1 minute, 2 minutes. You're trying to make 2 minutes.
You want to survive, right?
Yeah, you're just trying to survive. Yeah. So I've shown this team I have survival skills. Mm-hmm. I'm a survivor. Yep. Right? They know now, I know now. Right? So as pissed as I am, I'm a little more comfortable knowing that the team knows who I am. But at the same time, the team is not going to show their hand either. They're not going to show their cards. They're going to they want you, they're also, going to kind of stroke your ego. Hey, we do like you. We see what we see.
Yeah.
They'll tell the player that, and they most likely not lying.
Sure.
But so that he won't get too upset. We see you in our future. You're one of our favorite newer top growing players, right?
Yeah.
But they still have to play the business of basketball. They have some other players to play. If I can get this guy low, I mean, if you get any guy low, if you can get Anthony Edwards for a low deal, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So let me get these potential guys that's really good that no one knows and on two ways, right? Let's be real. They probably have some of the best two-way players right now in the league on the low.
I think so. Well,
let's keep it on the low.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking from that perspective.
It's got to be, yeah.
Right. So I can't think of possibly there's any other answer than that, because it's not. Otherwise, you're not really truly getting any trade value for them. So you want to hold on to them.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. They have more value to you than they would going as a part of a deal for somebody else. The other thing, though, like what you just explained is what we sort of explained for the reason of like what they did with Tristan Vukcevic in the offseason. Maybe they put him on a two-way, like they can get him on a team-friendly deal here and not waste a roster spot because he's on just a two-way contract. And then they could convert him longer term. Like they could maneuver and be savvy. But they've also kind of shown they don't really seem to care about Tristan Vukcevic. Like he's the only guy that I've seen. Yeah, I agree. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So I don't really like what he showed. I thought was enough to be like interested and at least give him some chances this year in a lost year. And he's been battling this like weird, inexplicable knee contusion on and off for the year, which sounds to me like an excuse to not play somebody. So is he just somebody they wrote off already? He's not in the plans. Like he's not even really doing anything in the G League. So it's just that whole situation is weird to me too. So we haven't seen enough from this front office to know what they'll even do with these two-way guys yet.
So he's not effective in the G League, or he's just not playing in the G League.
He's not even really playing. There's been a lot of like, well, he'll get recalled to the Wizards and then not play. And then, he was with the Go-Go for a game or two, and now he's back out with the knee contusion. It's just, it's strange is what I would say. When he's played, he's been fine. It just hasn't been playing a lot. So far this year, he has played, let's see, he played one game in the first. So the G League splits their season into two halves, essentially, a tip-off tournament and then a regular season. He played one game in the tip-off tournament and put up about 10 points, which is fine. And so far in their regular season, he's played 3 games. He's averaging 16 minutes a game, 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist, and he's shooting 58% from 3. But still, like, your two-way guy that was a draft pick only playing 16 minutes a game on a team that doesn't really have any other, really interesting center prospects is just weird to me. Like, if you want to keep him with the Go-Go, fine, but he should be getting 30 minutes a game down there. Like, I don't know. Like, unless this knee thing is, I don't know, 23, it's a bad sign if your knees are that shot.
It may be something with an injury, but see, I think from our perspective, we're looking at it as hopeful. Like, hey, what are they doing? Why aren't they playing him more? Mm-hmm. Why? But it may be he may be ineffective.
Yeah.
I mean, look you just said he's getting 16 minutes a game. That's still enough minutes for somebody who's a draft pick, NBA draft pick, to put up good numbers. If he can't put up good numbers in the G League, why are we going to start being hopeful for him in the NBA, even though he looked great at the end of the season? So we know his capabilities, but does he really want to be that type of player?
10-4 as a big in the G League in 16 minutes isn't bad, though, especially shooting, around, you're making half your 3-point attempts. Like, it's just the G League big numbers are usually not as inflated as some of the guard numbers. So, because it is just like a guard heavy league, but I don't know, like with a couple, I've only watched 2 of his G League games total this year, but he looked good at them to me. And then he went back to not playing again after. So I don't know. Well, I'm curious to see how that whole kind of thing shakes out with what they do with the two-way guys. But yeah, Jared Butler is the one that is the most head scratching. Had a 4-game stretch where he averaged 19 points, 5 assists, and 3.5 rebounds on 64% shooting from three. Like that's something, you got something there. And if you're gonna like jumpstart this rebuild, if you can start filling in rotation guys, from two-way contracts, like that accelerates things a little bit. Now you just got to find a couple, got to get the big piece or two. But that's the next thing I want to transition to. Cooper Flagg is coming off a 42-point game for Duke. It was probably arguably the best freshman performance in the history of college basketball. Like it was that efficient and that, influential. Ace Bailey just had another 30-point game. He's been a little up and down, but more up than down lately. Dylan Harper had a rough stretch there. He was a little banged up. He's starting to look good again. Kasparas Yakuchonis for Illinois, he had 20 points in the first half against Indiana, and they blew the doors off of him, and he was coming off an injury. Like, there are some dudes in this draft. I guess, Jahadi, like, everybody says, like, draft best player available, which I kind of hate because it's not the best player available if you put them at a position where you're not actually going to play them. But you don't want to draft exclusively for fit. But how much do you consider like how a guy complements Alex Sarr? Like, is that in your mind at all when you're drafting someone? Like, hey, I'm not saying this is the case, but like Dylan Harper and Alex Sarr isn't a good fit, so maybe we'd steer away from Harper. Like, how much does the guys you've already drafted impact your decision making at all? None.
Not one bit.
Okay.
Reason being is, if Alex Sarr was scoring 30 a game, I might consider it.
A little different, right?
Right. So now I got to really consider, okay, but not one bit. Reason being is we have to have another 30-point per game starter other than Poole.
Sure.
Alex Sarr, run rookie of the month, looking much better.
Yep. Right.
He's 3-point shots shooting is looking more smooth, much more smooth, looking much better, hitting more. He's more continuous, for lack of a better word right now, where it's consistent.
Yeah, because
more consistent on his 3-point shot. He's starting to get downhill now. Yeah, someone has really been working with him getting downhill. Now, when he gets downhill, he's still holding the ball down too far and is getting ripped sometimes. But he's starting to add downhill in his game, so he's just not a one-trick pony. Now, if he can protect the basket more and rebound more, I think that really would put him over, really would put him over the top, especially winning Rookie of the Year, right? So right now, I just feel like he's nominated. He's in there, but he has to get those things above board to really win it. But he's not right now that prominent scorer, that dog that main superstar guy that we need. That he's not that right now. Coulibaly is not that right now.
Right, the no-brainer franchise player kind of guy.
Right, they can be.
Sure, it's not an obvious thing.
Well, yeah, it's a mindset. They don't have. It's a mindset, and no matter how talented you are, it's so tough to put that brain into somebody else's head.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's a mindset. And I mean, Coulibaly, I think he has more talent than anybody to become that superstar and that dominant player.
Agreed.
But you just can't force. You can't create. A dog out of somebody who doesn't think in that particular way.
He's just too content to float for like games at a time, and like the guys never do that. Like you might have one night where you're just really off your game or whatever, but the best players never have weak stretches.
Long stretches of inconsistency.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you see something, you're like, man, I wouldn't be able to see that from the average player in the NBA. That's a above average thing he just showed me right there.
Sure.
So you understand his potential and his capabilities can soar way beyond, where his mind is right now.
I think a better example now that I'm thinking about it would have been, let's say the Wizards I hope this is not the case. They win a couple games late. They end up, with the third worst record, and they fall to number 6 in the draft or something. Again, hope that's not the case, but it is a possibility. And the best guy on their board is power forward / center out of Georgia, Asa Newell. That's the number 1 guy left on their depth chart. But he is a power forward / center, similar mold to Sarr. So that positional overlap should have no impact, is what we're saying, right? In who they draft.
Say it again. You cut out.
Oh, sorry. Let's say the best guy left on their draft board when it's their time to pick is another power forward / center that maybe doesn't fit well with Sarr long term. That should not impact who they end up drafted. It should just be who is number 1 on our board is who we take, and we figure out the fit later, right?
No, not always.
Okay.
Not always. I think you have to think about pieces with this team. Guaranteed you got to think about pieces because you have good pieces, right? But in the end of the day, if I don't have a great chess piece that I know can they can fit with the rest of my players, I got to find a king.
Yeah, whoever could be that guy,
right?
Yeah, I'm with you too. Yeah, that's one of the things I always kind of go back and forth with too. It's like, again, like if the best guy you draft is another power forward / center that probably can't play with someone like Sarr, well, then are you really going to get your most out of him? But
you need it anyway.
I agree. You take all the pieces you can get. And
well, I'm saying they need another power forward / center anyway. I mean, you're going to get rid of Valanciunas, obviously.
Bagley's probably
Bagley is, kind of just coming along. He's kind of either a journeyman or he's kind of on the decline too early. Yeah. So you need another power forward / center anyway that can be effective. Now, you two battle it out. The best guy win. Yeah. But at least we have, and if worst come to worst, both of you all can play. One is a 3-point shooter. One is so now, especially if he's just not a traditional, we have twice as much movement on the floor. So it's just as much as you think you can say another power forward / center can may be counterproductive or combative. It may be just exactly also the piece that we need.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that. In today's more positionless basketball, these guys do more than one thing. Like there are certain I'm only a rim runner, shot blocker centers that maybe you couldn't put 2 of them together, but Sarr is malleable enough that you can put him next to another guy that's versatile like that and make it work. You could put him next to a shot blocker, or you could put him next to another stretch big. And I think that's the value of the guys they've drafted so far. Bub could play multiple positions for you. You could be a 1 or a 2, depending on who else you draft. Coulibaly can play, 1, 2, 3, and maybe even some 4 in some circumstances as he beefs up. So I think that's been a nice thing is that they're not locking themselves into these guys that you can't fit other pieces around, which is nice.
Sarr's rebound average is what, 6.6, something near that?
Let's see, 6.6. Yep.
What about block shots per game?
1.6.
1.6 is not bad, but
it's not bad. But
so he ain't a center anyway. His numbers say he's not a center.
Yeah, he's a 4.5. I think is where.
Man, his numbers say it.
Yep.
A 5 is averaging 10 rebounds per game.
They should. If they get minutes,
at least 2 to 3 block shots per game. You need that.
Yeah, I think so too. Speaking of Sarr, we mentioned Candace Strong, probably favorite, I think, at this point for Rookie of the Year. Just under 12 points, about 6.6 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He's up to 32.5% from 3, which has been good to see considering how bad that was early in the year. I guess, is this about what you expected from him in year 1?
No.
You thought more?
I expected no. So I'm not saying that I didn't. I expected a different player.
Okay.
Right. I I didn't expect
shot block rim protector type.
I expected a shot block, rim protector, rim runner type of guy, right?
Does not do as much rim running, although has
right.
been doing
So
a
that's
little
what I
better lately.
expected. What I end up getting is maybe a poor man Wemby a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's kind of pushing it. Nothing wrong with not saying in a bad way.
Sure.
I like where Sarr. I like how he's growing.
He free safeties a little more on defense than like a strictly like just protect the basket kind of guy.
Yeah. So that's what happens too. He has to guard 1 through 5, which means he's not there for rim protection, because rim protection is truly like a Bagley. Bagley was he could guard 1 through 5, but he was more of a traditional big that rims protects, right? That's why he's kind of struggling over there in Dallas, because
Gafford,
Gafford, yeah. That's why he's struggling in Dallas a little bit, because the other guys are much better defender, but also a rim protector, but not much better defender. Gafford is rim protectors are mostly more traditional.
Yeah, I agree.
But they're not guarding 1 through 5. They're waiting for you to come to them.
You're funneling people to them. Yeah.
Right. So they're more like thinking I'm the last line of defense. But I didn't expect this type of game from Sarr.
Yeah.
Right.
The perimeter stuff on offense has been surprising to me too.
Yeah,
but
right. But he's shooting very well. He's shooting well. He's playing defense pretty good.
I think so.
He has a big upside, a long way to go. I see him starting to try to go toward his upside. He's getting downhill. He's catching and ripping. I see that. He's trying to be more of a instead of being behind the break, he's trying to lead it.
Yep.
But in the end of the day, no, I did expect a different player.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was going back and forth with a couple folks during pre-draft about he's not a rim runner, like not a lob threat. I'm like, but why can't he be? He's 7 feet tall. He's athletic. He moves well, right? So
it's
to me,
mindset.
that's a coachable thing. Set a good screen. Here's how you roll. Here's the angle for it. And we're starting to see a little bit, little flashes of that more and more here, which I think it gives you another dimension, especially if you get like a really bursty, dynamic guard that gets into the paint a little bit more. Like Poole's been really good, but he's not like a walking paint touch. It's not really Bub's game. He doesn't really get to the rim. But if some of these guys really collapse the defense, and now you've got Sarr who can be a vertical spacer too, then I think you kind of unlock the next little piece for him, and it makes him a little more, multi-dimensional, I think, on offense.
I agree. But what you just said was really prominent, that we don't really have a paint touch guy.
No.
And when you don't, and that's why it did work with Vukcevic a little bit. It was Vukcevic, Valanciunas. Those DVs.
Yeah.
He
sets such a big screen, he hangs everybody up.
Yeah, Valanciunas opens up the paint. If not, you just drop it down the paint and he plays a game. That's why when we were playing that 2-man game with Valanciunas, it worked so well because it created paint touches. Without him, we're more athletic. We're more of we're better defensive team. Much better defensive team, because he just gets beat.
He's too
on
slow.
The perimeter. He's just too slow.
Yeah.
But now we are limited with paint touches. So what is Sarr doing? He's just jacking a lot of threes. Also, Poole now is not getting as much paint touches as he did.
Yeah, I think the little nagging injuries are starting to rack up for him a little bit more. And once you've had like a tailbone contusion and a sore back and all this stuff, I think the incentive to get all the way to the rim is probably a little lower than it was early in the year here. Shout out to Bijan Todd for Monumental Sports. He does this thing where every time the Wizards play a really good team with a star player, he asks them what they think of the young core. And he had a couple good quotes here that he tweeted out after the Minnesota game. Rudy Gobert said that he'd seen a lot of progression from Alex Sarr, and he's getting more comfortable. And he also said, his tip for Alex Sarr long term is just that as a big, your career is almost kind of dictated by, your fitness and your ability to stay in shape and stay healthy and out on the court here. So I thought that was really, really like a neat thing to hear him talk about. And I wanted to get your perspective on that as well. Like for Sarr coming in, yeah, he didn't play college basketball, but he played an overtime elite, and then he played an NBL. Those teams do not play nearly as many games as an NBA team does. Jahadi, for you, obviously at Georgetown, like, John Thompson was keeping everybody in shape, but it is still like a big jump up in terms of amount of games played. I guess what's the difference between like college fitness and like NBA level fitness? Like how much, it's a big jump, I would assume, right?
College fitness is you're younger, you're more agile, you have the games you're playing, you're practicing much more than you're playing in college.
Mm-hmm.
In the NBA, you're playing way more than you're practicing.
That makes sense.
Right. And the games are, could be triple the amount of college games. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and everybody in college, they're really good players, and they're great players, and they're awesome players. Mm-hmm. Right. The awesome players in college all go to the NBA.
Yeah.
Right. The good players in college can probably go overseas or G League, right? Mm-hmm. So when you get to the NBA, you're only playing against
the top guys. Yeah.
All the top guys. So now you have to sustain. Mm-hmm. As a big, you have a bigger body, you have longer limbs, you have more you have to work 3 times as hard as the other players to sustain. That's why Gobert say, as a big, like the way to last in this league, mm-hmm. is pretty much to be on top of your shape, which means to sustain. That means injuries, prevention wise, right? I got to prevent myself to get as much injuries. I can't put a lot of weight on. I have to focus on recovery. I have to focus on strength work. I have to focus on my speed, my agility, so many things. And not only do I have to focus on it, I have to keep it for longevity. And the older I get, the more I last in this league, the more I even have to double time focus on it and put toward it. And so that's what he's saying. And because you're not there's no big in the NBA that you're going to face that's bad.
That's true. Yeah,
there's no defender that's terrible, right? You're in the NBA. These are the best players in the world. Yeah. Not only that, I have to bring it every night. I have to sustain my body, these long limbs, this pounding, right? And if not, like Gobert, prime example, what Gobert saying is you end up like a big fella over in New Orleans, Zion Williams. He's struggling to sustain, and it's showing in every way. Even when he's super in shape, his body still is hard to maintain because it's been holding that weight for so long that some of those joints and those tendons, and they already have been holding so much weight on them.
A lot of mileage.
It's tough in the NBA. In the NBA, you'll find that you can play a whole 3 years of college, 4 years of college, and not really get that many injuries. And you play 25% year in the NBA, and you find the injuries you never seen before. And it's just how it goes.
No, I as soon as I saw that quote, I was like, all right, I want to get Jahadi's perspective. And I think that's a huge one. And hopefully that's, what they're telling him too. And one of the things you've seen as a recent NBA trend, it used to be, okay, this guy's got to bulk up. He's got to put on 20, 30 pounds as quick as we can get it on him. Teams are much more strategic with their 7-footers on, it is a multi-year plan. You will add this much strength, but this much flexibility. You saw it with Porzingis. That's the big example that always comes to mind for me. Like Dallas had him go put on 20 pounds of muscle, and he kind of continued to fall apart. And he said the biggest thing that helped him was when he came to Washington, he lost 20 pounds, did Pilates, worked on his strength and his flexibility, as opposed to just like, just strength. Muscle. Yeah, just bulking up. And then you look at what Wembanyama's been doing since he was 12 years old. They've had him on a very dedicated, you won't lift weights until you're X amount of years old. You won't do this. Before every game, he crawls around on his fingers and toes to work on like flexibility and, just stretching out like the muscles in his feet, and just really interesting, deep science that's gone into like, okay, like we will have a plan. It's not just like, go take protein shakes. So hopefully that's the case for Sarr. So if he comes back next year and he's not 20 pounds heavier, I'm just cautioning Wizards, like, doesn't mean that he's not going to be stronger, because he definitely has to get stronger, but it's doing it the right way, doing it the smart way, and playing the long game here. And hopefully that keeps him with that longevity you're talking about.
Yeah, it's been, like you said, it's been so much new science now, to the point that for basketball players, a lot of times they saying weightlifting can be bad for you, right? It can actually rush injuries, get you closer to being injury prone than not sometimes, and then they saying, okay, starting to use your own body weight against yourself. And that's the best way to do it, because not only it strengthens your muscles, but it slowly strengthens your ligaments too. And I mean, that in basketball, the biggest thing is your ligaments.
Yeah, they take a lot of pounding,
Yeah, your ligaments take more pounding or getting stretched out, and those things are kind of elastic. And have you ever pulled a rubber band too much, it doesn't hold the same. It don't hold the same elasticity as it used to. So eventually, that ligament just, it's not as tight and strong, and that's how you break down. Now one ligament breaks down. Now it's so it's like you said, it's a science and it's a technique and it's some state of the art. Everything becomes more and more state of the art. Back in our day, we would ice all the time.
Sure.
We thought icing was a great thing. I still think icing, nothing is better than icing.
Yeah.
But now they're saying instead of icing, you need the laser. What the fuck is laser?
No
now we got a
me
laser.
On the science of that one yet.
Yeah, what's the laser? So now so Jerome, you remember Jerome William JYD from Georgetown? He was with me the other day, and he was showing me after every game, I put this laser on my knee. And it's like some infrared cell therapy. Well, now instead of ice freezes the cells, the laser regenerates the cells.
Yeah, stimulates healing and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, but hey, I believe it.
I have a friend that does that after every time we play tennis. Every time I'm like, I'm a little sore. He's like, oh, you want the laser? I'm like, I'm good, man. Like, I'll just
pew pew me.
I'll rough it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, come on, hit me with the pew pew if I got to. See if it laser me.
If it works, even if it's placebo effect, that's
right.
Worth it. The other quote Bijan had that I thought was interesting about the young core. He talked to Anthony Edwards, who said he was impressed with the Wizards' young players, and then just sort of admitted he didn't really know anything about the Wizards, which I thought was kind of funny. Like,
I don't. Anthony Edwards walk around like he don't care about anything else going on, other than like the top players.
Yeah, no, but
that doesn't surprise me.
It just seemed especially fitting for where the Wizards are. They're not on national TV. And like as much of these other NBA guys watch other NBA teams, they're probably not tuning into Washington very much. So he was like, oh, I didn't even know Malcolm Brogdon was on their team. It's like, oh my God. Like, come on, man. But he still had nice things to say overall. He said they're good, man. They're young. I didn't know the Sarr kid is just 19. They got a good young core. And then the other thing, Bijan talked to Gobert about Coulibaly, which was my favorite quote of the week. He said he's one of the hardest workers I've seen, and talked about how Coulibaly would get to work early in the mornings during the Olympics without being prompted. He was beating people into the gym. And I just remember this like debate we had over the summer with a certain percentage of Wizards fans about like, he needs to be at Summer League. It's so much more valuable. It's also the same people that were burying Alex Sarr after he went 0 for 15. So please never talk to us again about the importance of Summer League. Like Coulibaly beating multiple, decade-long NBA players into the gym to get work in for the Olympics will always be better than a week of Summer League. It's just nonsense.
It's the Olympics, the best players in the world.
Yeah, in a crazy atmosphere.
And it's all about strategy. It's all about Olympics. To me, watching the Olympics, it was the highest IQ individual-wise basketball I've seen in a long time.
Yep.
It was so many problems and quick problem solving at an instant, at a notice, or changes, or exchanges, to the point to where I literally saw LeBron scratch the game plan.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And say, if we win in this game, I'm taking out Steph. It's me and you.
Yep. I'll drive, kick out to you. You do your thing.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it takes in the Olympics. If you're experiencing any part of that Olympics, either getting playing time or not getting playing time, just the processing and the information and internalizing all of that information.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back, you're a much better player, because you understand basketball at a much higher caliber just being there. Just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched basketball at a much higher caliber, and I wasn't even there.
You got to think about the game differently. It's not just run the same play over and over again.
Right.
I would just remember how much the Redeem Team guys talked about, even LeBron, like, holy cow, man, like seeing Kobe do his thing was just like a transformational experience for a lot of those guys, of just like the crazy stuff he was doing. And they were getting ready to go out to dinner and drinks. And he was like, no, I'm going back to the gym. Like, that's the sort of intangible value, I think, there. And I thought that would be the biggest thing for Coulibaly is, seeing the work these other vets are putting in, but knowing that he came in out of the gates and was just outworking people is like the greatest possible thing you can hear, because like, whether he's consistent, in his production and things like that, like at least he's consistent in his work, and that eventually will pay enough dividends that I felt better about that.
Because it's all about how much you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end of the basketball, it's all about trusting your work, right?
Yep.
If you only have so much work to trust, then your game only goes so far. If you have an abundance of work that you put in to trust, your game has more levels that it can go to. So to me, with Coulibaly is I don't deny his work ethic, and I don't deny his potential. I don't deny where he can grow to. It's about trusting the work he put in and the type of work. What type of work are you putting in? Who's helping you with
right
the work?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the right work.
Yep.
So I'm saying, okay, does he have the best person to work at that? So to me, it's all about him getting the elite people to really, really break that down to science and teach them that work, and if that's the case, he'll be okay, because he's the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people in like the French Association there that are like leading the game in Europe in terms of what they do and how they learn. So I would imagine, him being in the facility with those guys too is just another, opportunity to pick up new things and be ahead of the curve, which is awesome. Last guy I want to talk about is our third French speaker on the team, Kyshawn George. For the year, he's averaging 7.2 points, 3.8 rebounds, 2.2 assists, only shooting 33% from the field, which I had to double check to make sure that wasn't his 3-point percentage. It's just overall field goal percentage. He's 25% from three. He takes 7.5 shots a game, and 5 of them are from three. He's only making a quarter of those. Like we saw in college, he can shoot the ball. The shot looks good. He just is not making them right now. Like you can see him almost like trying to think the ball into the hoop. He's probably never had this like long a slump in his basketball playing life, I would imagine. So much of basketball is confidence. So much of shooting is confidence. At what point would you say, like, maybe let's give him a few G League reps here and just let him cook against lesser competition and get a little momentum going? Like, would you consider that at all with where he's been?
I think he should. I think the organization can't risk it.
Okay.
Right. Because it's going to raise value from other people that they don't want to raise value from. All the whole.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah,
right.
He is helping the tank right now, unfortunately.
Right. But now, with him, with his shot, it's not. He's trying to make it.
Right. So just
he's
shooting.
He's trying to make the shot instead of just trying to shoot the shot.
Yeah, I see.
Right. You can see it. He's, like you say, he's trying to think the ball in. Right. We know he's a good. So I would rather him miss just because it is confidence than miss because something else is off, right? Because you can fix that. That's easy to fix. You know it's not this. It's this.
Yeah. You're not retooling the whole structure of the
right.
shot.
You're not. Now you don't have to break the shot down and build it back up. It's a great shot, so we don't have to play with the shot.
Yep.
We just got to play with the belief, right? Also with him, I do see a good upside with him. What I noticed with him more than anything, he doesn't do a good job of reading screens.
Okay, interesting.
Right. So if you notice, Bub Carrington, I think Carrington and Poole does the best with reading the screens. They know how to see the seams. They know how to get to where they want to off a screen, getting their shots.
Especially around bounce.
I'm watching when he comes off the screen, he don't see the advantages instantly. Right. So he missed this. Oh, you just missed that open seam. Oh, you just missed the area that's open right there. You can sidestep into that pocket and shoot it. Right. He's missing a lot of those. So it's just more of him being inexperienced and just being young. And the more he can see those type of things, the more he can see opportunities. The more opportunities open up and you take advantage of those opportunities, the more your confidence builds. Now it's not only about the 3-pointer. If I have some opportunities to get some good twos, from the elbow extended or, a little bit inside the top of the key, because that's what's available to me on the screen. Now I'm rolling. Now I'm not even thinking about making a miss, because now I'm back in my zone playing basketball. So he's missing opportunities just to get internalized in the zone, get centered in the zone, and now he's just naturally playing, because this game still is a game he's been playing for his whole life. So once you get to that, it's a point to where everything's shut off and you just in your zone. You just kind of, the game slows down and you're just moving. And he has to give himself opportunities to get to that space. And he's to me, he's playing so careful sometimes that he's missing all those opportunities.
I don't know if you saw this the other day. I was kind of going around. There's a player in the EuroLeague, Sasha Vezenkov, and he's from Cyprus, not a rich basketball history there, but he was with the Kings last year. He didn't really do much or play much, but he's like one of the best scorers in Europe. And he had 45 points, was like perfect or 18 for 20 from the field or something like that on 3 total dribbles. And the thing he was doing, and they talked to him about this after. Yeah, which is, it was like that Klay Thompson 60-point game where he dribbled 10 times. But his whole thing is about ducking in early, getting a few looks. He always starts the game close to the basket to try to get a few. Oh, I saw it go through the hoop. Now I've warmed up a little bit. I don't just come in and immediately start pulling 30-footers. Right. And that's what Kyshawn is. You never really see, oh, here's the easy look he got. And that was the one I wanted with Sarr too, was get him a couple lobs or something just to see the ball, feel the ball a little bit, and then he'll take some deep shots. That same thing should apply to Kyshawn. And those are the kinds of guys I actually be watching, because he's not like this physical, athletic marvel, but seeing how positioning and angles and sealing the guy the right way can get you a couple freebies. And then now once I'm cooking a little bit, now I step back and stretch the court a little bit. I always talk about getting to the free throw line, but even if you don't get to the free throw line and see the ball go in the hoop that way, just something, even layups, it still gives you a little mental boost.
Right. Well, the thing is, what you do is when you first enter the game, say, I'm going to outwork everybody and I'm going to impact winning in all the small ways.
Yep.
Now, if I impact winning in all the small ways, that means I'm looking for all these opportunities, second chance, 50-50s, all these crazy things that has nothing to do with, me dribbling, going down and moves. But you don't realize when you impact winning in small ways, you have all these little small opportunities to just get a real quick chip in or a tip in, or, something to where you can make a one more pass. Those things now get you into the rhythm of the game. So now when you're in your natural rhythm, you just hooping.
Yeah. You don't have to think about anything. You just
do. So that's what he needs to do. He needs, like you said, he needs to just find get the easy ones. Because it's amazing when you see one or two go through the hole.
Yeah, now you're feeling good. You know, you get a little.
You get in the
okay,
trance.
I'm the man here. Yeah,
you get in the trance.
Yeah. So hopefully that's the message from the coaching staff. It'd be great to be a fly on the wall to know what they're telling some of these guys, because I don't think, hey, shoot more threes is going to be the answer.
Nah.
I mean, they haven't changed a ton for Sarr. I do think he gets a few more freebies, and we've seen a few more threes go in. He's still shooting a lot of them from three, but you know, sometimes you just need the dam to break, and one or two, I'll go 4 for 5 one night, and then like, okay, now I'm
and
back.
by the
now
time you're shooting those threes, you're not thinking about them.
Yeah, it just happens.
It's just natural. It's your natural muscle mind memory, your natural mechanics, and you would rather shoot it that way than trying to wish a ball in.
Yeah, nobody's ever had particularly good luck or results doing it that way. All right, partner. That's all I got for you. I think that's a show. Good to be back, and looking forward to the next one here. Any parting thoughts for anybody?
Man, just looking forward to the rest of the season and
the draft.
Yeah, the draft for sure. The draft for sure.
I'm already watching a lot more college basketball just for that reason.
Just college basketball, goodness, yeah.
I'm feeling really good about things. Yeah,
it's really good.
A lot of close
good,
races.
Like you said, there's a lot of good players out there.
Yeah, it's cool. It's gonna be fun to watch. Which sometimes they all end up in one class, and then the next year not quite as fun. But
it's wild like that.
Yeah, we'll take it. All right, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button for us. We always appreciate a review on iTunes. Tell a friend. Subscribe to the show. All that great stuff. We were presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch y'all next time.